Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ball Up Top, your weekly women's basketball podcast. From us here at No Cap Space, Tyler, Andrew, Greer, holding it down. Man, we missed last week, with our paid sub rollout and everything, so we apologize. But look, there's been a lot of stuff coming out on the paid sub thing, so we were getting set with that, but we're back with Ball Up Top, and goodness gracious, has it been a week, y'all? It has.
A lot of work, a lot of excitement, though.
Yes, and a lot of major results, a lot of major news coming out, and some stuff to make fun of, which we always like to do. All-Star game. So we're gonna start off, Andrew. I know we're kind of splitting this one in half a little bit, so we're gonna start off with the WNBA first because we got to talk about Marina Mabrey and what is going on here, and then we're gonna talk. Greer, you weren't able to be on the post-game show. I wasn't able to be on the post-game show, but we're talking UConn today. Okay, so you already know we gotta talk about UConn. We gotta talk about UConn, South Carolina. So we're gonna get into it all. But let's start off with Marina Mabrey. Put the trade request in from Connecticut, which would be her third team that she has kind of forced her way out of. Not many teams in the WNBA, folks, to kind of continue doing this, but I mean, obviously this has kind of been the angle, the direction of where Connecticut has kind of been heading, but this is kind of seemingly where they draw the line, I guess, is Marina Mabrey, which is a bit odd to me, frankly, but here we are. Andrew, I'll let you just bat lead off with this, and I know, like, I don't know what the direction is right now. And I'm intrigued your thoughts. I'll let you bat lead off.
Yeah, well, the first thing I want to do now that we're back on the pod this week is just thank everybody for the wonderful responses that we've gotten, not only on our first No Cap cover, which is a new monthly series installment that we have, which is basically like the OG magazine covers that you miss in journalism nowadays, whether it's in TV or magazines or newspapers or digitally. No Cap covers is back as an antidote to that. We dropped our first piece on Juju Watkins last week. You can find that on our Substack. We also rolled out our paid subscriber tier. So if you want more ball and want more stuff to know about, head over to our website for that too. But really cool to see the immediate responses and support from people. So for the true day ones in that respect, we really do appreciate it. And shout out to the homie Deals who got us all set up with our newest music for podcasts. I'm sure you've heard it if you are listening to us through like Apple, Spotify, or Substack. Deals, our homie, best up and coming DJ in Denver, Colorado. So shouts to him. This as it pertains to Marina Mabrey, I understand why Connecticut drew the line here, believe it or not. This to me is one of the more egregious trade requests I think we've had in the league in a while, mostly because this is the result of asking for a trade once already. And so you can't just keep playing the same card over and over again. It's obvious that Marina does not want to be a part of a rebuilding team. She wants to be on a contender. And when it became evidently clear in Chicago that it was a rebuilding operation, she wanted to go to a place that could contend. When she asked for the trade, it was prioritized like a place that can contend. And she ended up in Connecticut, which at the time was contending. But that's the risk you run. This league, things can change. In sports, things can change. And so you end up in this environment where you had a contender. They're no longer a contender. They are content to rebuild. And here you are trying to force your way out of this type of situation again. And I think my one kind of hot take about this is the same way that we talk about Kennedy Carter in regard to front offices becoming exhausted with what allegedly is brought or not brought in the locker room day to day. I think we need to talk about Marina Mabrey in the same way. Like once you get to your third team, like it's not everybody else anymore, and I don't necessarily think it's a problem with Marina as a locker room player or as somebody that can alter or mess with the chemistry of a team. But I think if you play this card for the third time, I know leaving Dallas was sort of a different situation because she was a restricted free agent. But once you play this card again, and you have your agent Marcus Crenshaw, he of Tenders and Bites infamy for for a long time.
Sorry, I have the quote. If you want me to let the quote off, I have the quote here.
Yeah. Well, first, Greer, do you want to just walk the uninitiated through the lore of Tenders and Bites and Marcus Crenshaw, just so people can get an idea of why this statement is so goofy and like why it coming from this particular agent makes it sound even more goofy?
No, I feel like we should give our listeners a little bit of homework. Like, if you're going to be in these no cap space streets, like you need to put Tenders and Bites into your search query immediately. Okay.
Tenders and Bites WNBA in Google, folks.
Yeah. Well, here's the statement. This statement is pretty crazy. In this current age of women's empowerment is a crazy way to lead off. I'll just read it. In this current age of women's empowerment and support of the players, the Connecticut Sun threatening to force Marina Mabrey to play for them after her trade request is mind-boggling, Crenshaw said. Why would anyone try to force someone to play on their team when they don't want to be there? It's counterproductive in a ton of ways, and everyone we have spoken to is perplexed about how they are handling Marina after trading away Hall of Fame caliber players. The coach parted ways, no free agents return, and they are doing all they can to try and force Marina to stay when she clearly doesn't want to be there. It's interesting. And that comes from an article from ESPN.
Also, what does it's interesting mean?
Yeah, I don't
I don't know, but Marina also thinks the same thing because she ominously posted a picture of her and Jen Rosati hugging.
Yes.
Listen, I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone who has been less of a fan than Marina Mabrey. She's a Notre Dame guard, but I have rooted hard for Marina Mabrey, going back to her time when she was in LA Spark, and it was like questionable whether or not she was a WNBA player. Like, not on its skill, but just like, of all the guards that have come out of Notre Dame in recent memory, right? Like, she was the one that it wasn't a lock that she would be a pro in the WNBA, right? And I remember thinking back, like, to her rookie year season on the Sparks, like, no, you guys need to keep her. She's a good player. So to see her work her way from that kind of uncertainty to be almost being like a max level player in the WNBA, great story. However, at best, you are a fringe all WNBA guard. Fringe. Because I don't think you've been there yet. And with the talent that already exists in the league and the talent that's slated to come into the league, it's feeling like that's less and less of a possibility. That's a lot of dip on the chip. It's a lot of dip on the chip. Okay? Like, you're already getting paid close to $220 for one season. You know, people will have their qualms about what Chicago gave up to get you, right? Like, if we think back to that and James Wade and that whole deal and that whole trade, like, definitely like overvalued, right, on the market. So, like, you know, most people don't get to wake up and do what they love every day. I hate to take that, but it's just like, it's 1 year. It's not even 1 year. It's 5 months. It's 5 months where you get to play for another contract. You get to be compliant. You get to show that you're just a pro who can produce anywhere. You're right now, as it stands, I can't imagine anybody on the Connecticut Sun taking more shots than you.
No.
Like, I just don't think it's that bad of a situation. I don't think it's untenable.
Okay. I went and found the stats and the accolades. Never an all WNBA player. Never an all-star. Never even a first-team all-Euro League or all WNBL. And at most, season best in 2023, 15 points per game. You are not even putting up Kayla McBride numbers. Like, and I don't mean that pejoratively to Kayla, but I think Kayla is one of those players that we look at like on that fringe of like all WNBA, like, are you a star in this league or are you not? Like, I think she is kind of our Mendoza line in the WNBA. Kayla McBride is. Dog, Marina Mabrey, every number would suggest to you she's firmly like below that.
Yeah.
And when you look at somebody, you know, we take the analog right now to Jimmy Butler and what's going on over in the NBA. Like, Jimmy at least has some type of cachet, and even then it's wearing thin with people. You know, people are already kind of getting to a point where they're like, all right, man, like this is a lot of dip on the chip, as you said, Greer, for a dude who's never won a title, right? This is an insane amount of dip on the chip for someone who's never even made an all-star game. And that's not shading Marina. It's more of an issue of, I think that we veer sometimes from player empowerment to player entitlement. I said this during the Kiyomi McMillan saga, Rutgers. You know, where is the line between empowerment against a system that inherently suppresses labor versus labor employing the same tactics as owners? You know, if the goal within the W, and I feel like we're starting to see this kind of change in front of our eyes. The discussion within the W has always kind of been a point of pride for its longtime fans of, we operate differently. You know, we're not like, we're about equity. We're about doing this in a different way. Like, we're not as nakedly capitalistic as the men's leagues are. And what we're starting to see is like, no, like, you know, this is still America. Like, capitalism knows no gender. Like, everybody is still a capitalist, whether you are a player in the W or you're a player in the men's NBA. But also what you're starting to see, I think, is people taking advantage of the levers of power there, where it's like, you don't have the leverage to even do that right now. You know, I mean, this is not a league where players have any type of bargaining power already. Like, you're about to go to the table just to try and advocate for salaries that are even in a ballpark of decent for max and supermax players. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if the Aces got, you know, crunched in free agency and Asia requested a trade, I'd be like, yeah, bro, like, she's the best player in the league. She can do whatever the fuck she wants. Like, you're not good enough to do this. And your agent tapping it as a woman's empowerment thing, I find particularly odious, because it's wicked. To me, it is taking real issues and packaging them around frivolous shit. Like, there's real issues of empowerment going on in this league. Like, first and foremost,
and this is a franchise ran by women in Morgan Tuck and Jen Rosati. So, like,
yeah.
Also, former pros. Also, like, this is not Joe Schmo from off the, or Jane Doe from off the street, right?
Well,
in this organization. And
if you want to take it a step further, Greer, like this is Marina Mabrey from Belmar, New Jersey. Like, this is not a situation like a Kennedy Carter, for instance, where regardless of whatever you think about Kennedy and regardless of what people know or don't know about what goes on in those locker rooms and why coaches and organizations don't really fuck with her that way, like, there is a legitimate discussion to be had about how much leeway she is given or not given, you know, based around certain factors that she does not have control over, right? And what some unconscious biases may or may not be. Marina Mabrey ain't catching those in the same way that Kennedy Carter is. And I think everyone listening can fill in the blanks of what I mean when I say that. There are real issues here in this league. Trying to force your way out of a third team in a 12-team league or 13-team league, like, it's not a fight for empowerment in the way you think it is. Like, at the end of the day, I am of the mindset that, like, we still do have to have some guardrails for the sake of what actual competition and stability in a sports league is. I think it's a huge problem in the men's NBA right now, where, you know, these guys sign a contract and then in year 1 or year 2, they're like, I'm ready to go. It's like, dude, that's not how this is supposed to work. And the reason those contracts are in place is to try and maintain some stability for the league itself. And now you're watching the men's league get pilloried left and right with, you know, constant discussions about how the product is cooked. And I think over here, we got real fights to fight. You know what I mean? Like, there's real battles to fight here still with the WNBA. Like, this is a really bullshit fight and a really bullshit way of trying to frame it as some type of women's empowerment issue. I just, that whole thing bothered me, but it doesn't surprise me when it's, Mr. Tenders and Bites that is the person that is leading that charge in this way. I don't know. I don't like it. And you're running out of teams. You keep doing this shit. Eventually, the other 10 GMs are going to deem you a flight risk. What team, and Rosati made a good point with this. She's like, what team is going to be interested in her now? If you trade for her, she's done this twice. What assurances do you have that she's not going to pull this shit again the minute shit gets bad? And then you have to think about giving up assets to try and make sure that you accommodate her wish for team number 4. Like, I agree with Rosati. Like, it's a simple strategic thing. And like, frankly, if I were her, I'd be looking out for Marina. Like, dude, you could fuck this up ahead of the bag.
The free agency.
Like, yeah, dude. Like, I don't really understand why you're trying to cast yourself with a negative perception ahead of what might be the literal bag that everyone has been waiting in this league 30 years for. I don't get the calculus. I get you want to be competitive, but like this reeks of ring chasing. And frankly, the top teams in the league that you would kind of chase on, they don't need you right now.
And they can't take on your contract either.
They can't take on your salary. Like, I don't know a single team that fits financially and a team that fits positionally with her, because she'll want to be a starter. Like, she's not going to accept a seventh woman role. She's not going to want to come off the bench for the Lynx or the Liberty or the Fever or the Aces. Like, all of those spots are filled. Deck chairs on the Titanic. Like, you kind of are where you are here. So the whole thing is crazy to me.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I will be working in this current age of women's empowerment into my vocab. That'll be a phrase that I will be using going forward.